Hi, welcome to Librarians Talk Children's Books. I am Eric Dunnicliffe, and with me today is...
My name is Ashley Green.
Hi. We're going to talk about I Can Reads today. That is a special collection that we have in the library. It's not in our picture book section. And I want to give you an example to give you an idea of the difference between a picture book and an I Can Read. Both these books, Goldilocks and the Three Dinosaurs and Elephant Piggy, We're in a Book, are picture books by Mo Williams, but we consider Goldilocks and the Three Dinosaurs as a picture book. The reading level on this is about a third, fourth grade. I love reading this, Ashley. I love reading this to my first grade and second grade class tours. I love talking about how it's kind of like a fairy tale and how it's fiction, it's make-believe, and how fairy tales can, you can change the story. Every generation, you can tell different versions of the same story. So I bring this into our class tour. But I don't recommend this as a first grade or second grade reading book because some of the vocabulary and the content is more third, fourth grade, and they might not get the jokes. It's better as a shared reading with a parent and child or teacher and child. Whereas this one, the Elephant Piggy series, the reading level is at a kindergarten pre-reader, early beginning reader level, and it's a very simple reading. As you can see, barely even complete sentences. A lot of what's going on is told through the pictures. But one of my favorite books, and I also read this to usually kindergarten, first grade books, class tours too. Do you have some examples, Ashley?
Yeah, so this is where when the parents come in and they're like, my kid's just learning how to read, this is where we send them because most picture books are meant for parents and adults to read to children. They can understand them a lot of times, but they can't read them themselves until they get a bigger vocabulary. So I brought some Pete the Cat.
Yeah.
This is the very beginning level. It's called My First I Can Read Book. Mm-hmm. And you can see, not there. But the words, they use really big words, like the print size is really big. It's very spaced out.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of words on each page. And then if you jump from this to the level 1, also an I Can Read book, the font size gets a little bit smaller. They put their longer sentences. But then if you contrast that with like a Pete the Cat picture book, this one, these are still relatively kind of not terribly hard to read, but you can see the font is smaller. Not only that, but the font is like a weird font. Yeah. It's like a handwriting font. So that makes it even more complicated for kids to read. So
that's another great shared reading book where it's the parents.
Love it.
It's got that repetition too. So, yeah.
And a lot of it probably rhymes, which kids really tease them in to pay attention.
Yeah, which is a good segue to our history of I Can Reads, because when we think of kind of the I Can Read books, they kind of started out with Random House and Dr. Seuss. Before that, there was the Dick and Jane series and other ones where very simple, like, Jane goes for a walk. Dick and Jane see a cat. Kind of very simple writing. This is not a really great I Can Read. We're talking about that. This is not a great read along, because you're not going to keep kids' attention because there is a lot. But in a way, this was kind of the first I Can Read. I would recommend this for maybe third grade, second grade, independent reading, but it's a great shared reading book with a parent and single child. But starting in 1957, then I have, and I set this up not even realizing it, that I had all this great kind of history. I just went with some of the classic tales. Danny and the Dinosaur is 1960. And you said level 1. That's, as you can see, level 1, maybe 2-3 sentences per page. Yeah. Doesn't overwhelm the child. The vocabulary is very low. This is a great independent, first reading one. And this is a classic probably every parent recognizes. Go, Dog, Go. P.D. Eastman. And of course, it has that beginner reader label that people know so well. But as you can see, very simple. A green dog over a tree, a yellow dog under a tree. That's it for these 2 pages. It's very simple, very child can figure out what's going on very simply. Berenstain Bears. Sometimes you don't see these in the I Can Read.
I have a lot.
The scholastic ones, yeah. But you see a lot now. Level 1, Berenstain Bears. I can't believe how long Berenstain Bears have been around. It always throws me that Berenstain Bears started in the early 60s.
I mean, I read them when I was a kid, so.
Yeah, me too, yeah. They've endured. Eric Carlisle in the 1980s, and I guess in the 70s too. But you don't traditionally think of them as an I Can Read, but a lot of them been reformatted for they call it ready to read. This is a level 2. The great thing about this series or this publisher is they do have on the back, they'll have the different levels. And so for instance, level 2, superstar reader, longer sentences, simple chapters, high interest vocabulary words. So, and then of course we talked to Elephant Piggy, that was early aughts. And Fly Guy is a higher level one, but kids love it. It's the goofy graphics and pictures. So
those are the kids that are gonna like Captain Underpants.
Yeah, exactly. It's a precursor to Captain Underpants and Dogman. Yeah. So did you have some phonetic books that we also find in those?
Yeah, so when kids are first starting to read, when the parents come in, I kind of try and see where they're at. The very, very, very first place I would tell them to start is with these Bob books. They used to come in the box, but now they're all bound together, which is lovely because we don't lose like one book. So this is the alphabet collection. What's nice about these is if you go to the very back, at the back of every single one, it has a little collection. It tells you like they have 4 different little sets, and one's like this one right here.
Yeah, is
like the parents are going to be with them doing it, and then once we move into here, the kids should be reading these by themselves. Should is kind of a forceful word, but like this is where we want to start. This is alphabet, so we're going to go through and just work each book in here. It's just A, B. So this book, this little mini book inside this book is just going to have a bunch of A and B things. Mm-hmm. But then later on, we'll go to, this is one of the later ones, but it's sight words. We can see sight words for kindergartners. And so they might struggle with some of the words in here, but you can go through and it'll tell you kind of at the back of the book, which words are we looking for here? Are we practicing? And then you'll go through and it's like Matt hid.
Yeah.
This is the very, very beginning.
And these aren't necessarily fun books, but they're great for, figuring out that right level of vocabulary.
And getting them started and getting them a little bit confident. Like, I can do this. Before we jump into the, the next level where there's a couple more words on the page. And because part of the problem is just they get frazzled.
Yeah.
And so you just follow along with your finger.
Yeah.
And sound it out, But we want to keep them, we don't want to overwhelm them.
Yeah. I had a reading specialist tell me, I used to work at a school library, and she told me a good sort of rule of thumb is to take like 100-word book. If your child is should not make more than 5 mistakes in that 100 words. But if they're making 0 mistakes, you've found a book that's too easy.
Yeah.
The ideal spot to challenge your child but not overwhelm them is between 1 to 5 mistakes in those 100 words. So if you're getting over 5 errors, then you might want to find something slightly easier. But if they're whipping through it and they're not, challenging themselves, you might need to find another book too.
Yeah. But also just as well, because like we want them to read things that are challenging them and stretching them, but we also want them to read things that are easy for them sometimes that they just enjoy, so they have that enjoyment of reading and they build confidence and enjoyment.
Yeah.
But we do need to challenge them to get
that. Well, it's kind of interesting. There's kind of a teacher and librarian different philosophy, and it's finding that balance of like, oh, let's challenge the child and get them to read harder. But at the same time, you do need librarians push, hey, they need to be motivated and find it fun and not something that's considered work. So, all right. Well, I also had 2 series. We have what we call, and this is very pre-reader, Sight Words, My Sound Box. It's by the same author, Jane Bell McCord. And this just goes over a single sound, a letter sound, and it focuses on that throughout the book, as you can see. And then I have vocabulary. It's also by her, and she just focuses on a couple vocabulary words. Very simple, nothing too hard. Just going through each page, different words. Nothing fancy. But I noticed just looking through the I Can Reads, and this is really recent, I've been seeing that they've been publishing like phonics books with Pokemon, Marvel, different fun pop culture series that kids love, and then giving it a very simple kind of phonics style for reading.
Yeah. Got to draw them in with what they like.
Yeah.
Because reading, I think that's the other thing we have to remember, is reading is not a natural thing. Like, if we left someone completely alone, eventually they would probably learn how to balance and walk by themselves. Like, they honestly don't need us to do that. You have to have someone to teach you how to read. So it's not something your brain naturally. So it's something that we have to work at, and it's not a natural process. So it can feel really frustrating and overwhelming to kids. So we want to use whatever tools we have to make it more inviting and enjoyable for them as they are having to put in mental work.
Do you have any other I Can Reads with you that we haven't discussed yet?
Yeah, so I have one of the ones that I've been enjoying. These aren't really the books that we go to and read for enjoyment a lot, but like picture books. But the 2 Mini Jacks, or the Jack series by Mac Barnett. I love Mac Barnett. And so these are fun. Jack is this bunny, and he just gets into all kinds of mischief. So those I'm enjoying, and also these ones by Jan Thomas.
Giggle Gang, yeah.
These are fun. She has some picture books as well. Is that
kind of reminds me of Mo Williams, yeah.
So I just enjoy these ones that are just enjoyable and fun. Really good, big, not overcomplicated graphics, so it doesn't overwhelm them. So these are pretty simple, like early level. Then then we move up. That's the thing about I Can Reads. Like, we start at the bottom level and we build and build and build their skills before we move on to chapter books. So I have this Hello Krabby.
Yes, Acorn,
Acorn, so these are ones as we move up. This one would be a little bit more complicated. That doesn't even have words on it. So Like here, like kids have to learn first that we read from left to right and top to bottom so that they can follow these panels. This is going to get you ready to read graphic novels or
Yeah.
comic kids like that. But I mean, there's a lot more text. It's complicated figuring out where you're supposed to go. So like we need to read this first.
Yeah.
And then build to here.
Yeah.
This is
And that's a tough spot. I was just looking for a parent for books in that area. It's not quite chapter books, but picture books are too easy, but not quite ready for chapter books. Did you have a chapter book example?
So I have this one, the Know Nothings.
Oh, okay.
So this is actually a collection of short stories.
Yeah.
Very short stories.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see there's 4, and there's like this much text on the page.
Yeah.
You know, going through.
Not quite paragraphs, but getting close. Yeah.
But then like you go from here, and then we'll jump over into like the in-betweens is what we call them. It's like the early chapter books. We're not ready for like a full-fledged chapter book yet, but we're beyond this. And that's, I just brought The Princess in Black.
Yeah. That's a beginning 3rd grade book.
Yeah. So this has a lot more text.
Yeah.
And this
there's paragraphs.
Chapters, technically. So they can take a little break. They can read one chapter, but there's more text on here.
Yeah.
But before they can get to here, they got to do this because it has a little less.
Yeah.
We just have to be really conscious of each step is overwhelming, can be overwhelming and a challenge, and we just need to give them space in that challenge to sit with it and get comfortable before we like push them on. And not only that, but once they get beyond, if they want to come back to Princess in Black after they move on to, full-fledged chapter books, like we have to let them every once in a while, at least, just sit and read what they enjoy. We do that. I mean, I read middle grade books all the time and I love them, even though I'm fully capable of reading really complicated text,
Yeah, I'm always impressed with authors who can really make simple sentences, just these simple stories, enjoyable.
Yeah.
That's not authors say, the hardest picture books to write or children's books to write are I can reads because you're limited to what that child's reading level is. You can't really just, you throw in one difficult vocabulary word and suddenly the reading level is just off the charts.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, one last thing, I wanted to see if I can share the screen. Let me see. I'm going to share a reading chart here. Now, a lot of parents will come in and most, I think, Fresno County parents, their children will be using the Accelerator Reader program. So a lot of the librarians know Accelerator Reader, and it's easy because like beginning first grade is like 1.0.
Yeah.
That's easy to figure out. But there's also Lexel ratings, DRA, guided reading, and they'll come in and say, oh, my child's level M. And sadly, sometimes us librarians will go, let me go look that up. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
So here's a chart, kindergarten, first grade, and most I can read start in the kindergarten to first grade, like the Elephant Piggy series. This would be like a 0.5, and it would show up at it like maybe a Lexel rating of 25 or even lower. So your level 2 books usually fall in your second grade level. Level 1 is usually first grade between 1.5 to maybe a low 2.5. And then sometimes even level 3s will go into a third grade level. Sometimes, like if you're looking at guided reading, that'll be NOP, some of those. And then the in-betweens, as you're showing the Princess Black, that was the beginning, but that's usually the third grade level.
Yeah.
I usually tell my coworkers here at Woodward, the in-betweens usually range The lowest you'll see is like maybe a 2.5, and then the highest you'll see is about a 4.5.
Yeah.
I can read fluctuate. I would say 1.5, or no, the elephant thingy. So even 0.5 to maybe even up to 3.5 if you're looking at those level 3 books.
Yeah.
So you really have to, as you were showing in your books, parents, you really should stop and read a page or two with your child before checking them out, or if you're looking at a new series, because it varies quite a bit.
That's what I often do when they come in and they're like, well, what level are they? They're like, I don't know. So I just pull a couple of the I Can Reads off the shelf and I just give it to the kid. I'm like, read this to me.
Yeah.
And that's a good way to be like, if they're just breezing through, I'm like, okay, we need something harder.
Yeah. And I noticed different publishers will consider level 1 or level 2 in different ways.
Yeah.
So you can't assume, oh, I read level 1 books, so all level 1 books will work for my child. Yeah. Double check them. Yeah.
And even I noticed like in the Fly Guy, I've looked at some of those and I'll grab one or two and they're really easy. And then I'll grab another one and it's pretty complicated actually. So even within a specific series, you have like varying levels.
Yeah. And it's so hard to keep it exact. Once you get to the in-between level, it's long enough where you can keep the vocabulary and the sentences at a pretty consistent level. Yeah. But like one word can bump it up half a grade in the I Can Read. That's more difficult. So it's really tough to keep it at exact level. Like the Berenstain Bear books, they can go from 1.5 to 4th grade, depending on which book you're getting and when it was published.
And which adventure they're on and what kind of vocabulary it requires.
So, yeah. So I would love to say to our patrons and our customers, oh, it's really easy. You just grab the level 1s, but no, sorry. Yeah. So, all right. Okay. Yeah. So thank you for watching. Make sure to check out the kids blog. I've been putting up some links and an article to go with this program. And if you click on the hyperlinks, they'll take you directly to the catalog in order to request the items. So feel free to do that. Check out our main webpage and our Facebook page, www.fresnolibrary.org. And hey, Ashley, you're doing a story time?
I do.
When is that?
Tuesdays.
All right, and I'm doing a one on Friday at 10:30. Make sure to register that. We're doing it through Zoom like we're doing now, but it will be live, and you will be able to chat with us, and we'll read stories and sing songs with you. So thank you for watching our program. Have a good day.